the, let's see, we have one from last week from my cousin. Actually, it's my cousin Bob. He was talking about his fairway woods and how he, after hitting a good drive, the next one he would be too amped up and and not hit such a great shot because he got a little too excited. Well, a couple of different things happen. We used to call that the big drive syndrome. That every time somebody hit a really big drive, the next thing that would happen would be a terrible shot. We get excited and our adrenaline pumps and we go through our routine a little too quickly. Or we're excited about what we could accomplish on the next one. And what do we do when we're anticipating what's going to happen next? We look up and come out of the shot. So that's what I actually had a conversation with him, and that's what we talked about. You know, that shot is over, and finding a way to have enjoyed it, let it go, and then do some breathing and calm yourself down, and then go through your routine. The other issue is just what happens with fairway woods, especially for some higher handicappers. The notion that that club is a little harder to get into the air. So what do? We try to help it, which means we fall backward and end up either hitting it fat or topping it. So instead, just making that feeling in a practice swing of sweeping the grass, and even with a 5-wood, you almost take a little bit of a divot, and making that your intention for the swing, to have the club stay along the grass as long as you can past the ball as it comes up, before it comes up. And that's something that helps you stay in the shot and not help it up into the air. So that's the first one. Anybody have any comments on that? Were people able to unmute themselves? Do I have to do anything more? Ken, can you help me with this? Do I have to do anything more to unmute? No, I think everybody's allowed to. I think I'll just go through and ask you to unmute if you would. That might help. Let's go through here. Sorry for
muted now.
Yep.
I was muted. Now I'm unmuted.
Yes, good. I've asked everybody to unmute, so you can go ahead and. I think everybody is done. Well, I'm still going here. Let's keep going. I think that's everybody has been asked to unmute if you'd like to. Okay. Another question was negativity. And that was someone who, let's see, I think gets an award for the most negative golfer ever, but that's a relative. And and so here's the question. There's one hole that he expects to do badly on. So I think they wrote, he sees that he's playing that hole and he'll say, I may as well write a 7 down for that hole right now. How do you deal with a problem hole? Well, one simple solution for the problem hole is to take a look at how have I been playing that? How have I addressed that? Okay, have I been playing it to try to make a score that's unrealistic for me on that hole? If it's a real problem hole, it may be a very low handicap hole, like the first or like the hardest or second hardest hole on the course. And if you're not a 1 or 2 handicap, you get a stroke on that hole. So adjust your thinking for that being your par on the hole. I think that will help. If that's your par on the hole, then you don't have to force things. If you get in trouble on the tee shot a lot on that hole, even if your par is fuller, try playing it a little differently. But think outside the box. Tee off with an iron. Put it in the fairway, hit a layup, and hit an approach shot onto the green. You have a chance to make the putt, and probably the worst thing you'll make is a bogey. Another thing, it may be that that hole doesn't suit your eye. That there's something about the tee shot that puts you off. See, there are a lot of different things that can be happening. And if I don't know the details, I'm just going to go through a few of the different examples. And that is to say, okay, I need to either make a different plan for the club that I'm using, or here's an interesting experiment. And it's a technique that some people find helpful. You imagine and think back to your favorite tee shot on your home course. Likely a pretty wide open fairway, or at least a shape that fits your shot shape, that really suits your eye, that you go, oh, I got this, whenever you step up on the tee. Now, after you have aligned yourself to a target on that hole that doesn't suit your eye, and you've set your club face pointing in the direction you want, and set your feet, you're already aligned. In fact, you're not going to be looking out there as you swing, you're going to be looking toward the ball. So when you look down at the ball, take a breath, take a second, and imagine that you're actually on the tee, on that favorite tee shot on your home course. And that's what's out there that you're swinging toward. And if you can really do a good job with that, you will make a free swing right out to that imaginary fairway. If you're really, really good at it, when you look up, you'll be surprised that it's the one that you're playing and not the one that you had in your mind. Because the motor area of your brain is relating to a visual, but it can't tell the difference whether it's relating to a visual that comes from your memory or comes from your eyes. So if you have a very good visual of that in your memory, that's what your brain will think you're swinging right. If you're there, you get that?
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? I hope so. The other thing to do for a hole that you're not, that you it's like your jinx hole, something that you always play badly. As I said, you take different clubs and try to play it a different way. And the other thing is to just say, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to shoot on this hole, but I'm going to try to make a score of the hitting shots that I like. I'm going to see if I can hit a tee shot that I like and not get ahead of myself about what my score is going to be on the hole at the end of the hole. So start fresh and start each shot fresh. Playing that shot rather than worrying about what's going to happen as a result of that shot for your overall score. So I hope that that's helpful. Okay, and Steve wrote, that was perfect, good, okay. Let's see what else we have. We have how to control a driver. Driver help off the tee. That's a good question. I have a favorite saying about drivers. Drivers are like horses. They can smell fear. So if you're having trouble driving, probably, it smells fear and you go, whoa, down, trigger. Okay, so instead, what you need to do is say, okay, now let's take the opposite. Let's flip it. What club has the biggest club face? The driver. You got the best chance of hitting it on the club face on the driver. Now, the modern drivers have big sweet spots. So that's another thing you can think and just say, you know what, I can hit it pretty much anywhere around that whole area, and it's going to come out okay. So that's one thing that you can flip. The other is, what's your intention in hitting a driver? Well, just the name of it, the driver, is like powerful, like a pile driver. I got to really hit this hard. And thinking, I have to really hit this hard, is that really the best mental thought to have before swinging a club? Not really. What you want to do is take more of the attitude that they had when golf was in its olden days, like the 1800s. They didn't call the club a driver in the 1800s. What they called it was the play club, because its purpose was to put the ball in play. Now, they had clubs of all manner, different sizes and shapes and configurations. So whether what we call now a 3-wood, a 5-wood, a driving iron, well, even that, a driving iron gives you the wrong idea. Whatever club it is, that's your play club. That's the club you're choosing to use to put the ball in play. And that's its purpose. So if its purpose is to put it in play, that's a different purpose than trying to hit the cover off of it. Along those lines, I have a chapter in Zen Golf called Beware of Trying for a Few Extra Yards. And that has to do with trying to hit the driver as far as you can. So to swing within yourself, the pros rarely swing more than 80% of their capacity. They have that extra 20% to go to if they need to, but they understand that whenever they go over 80, whenever they rev the engine up into that red zone, that they're taking a risk. So instead, almost always, they're swinging that 80%. That's why it always amazes us how far they can hit it with that effortless swing. Well, when we see the pros who can hit it over 300 yards, they have a lot of flexibility and great hand-eye coordination, great body coordination, and great sequencing that really lets them crack the whip so that club head goes through at maximum speed. But to crack the whip, you don't swing it as hard as you can. You swing it with the right tempo and sequencing and rhythm. That's more important. If you do that, pick a spot on the fairway. Let's say pick a spot just 150 yards away and swing your driver and say, my goal is to swing the driver to hit it to that spot. Now to do that, you might actually have to swing a little in almost slow motion. But when you do, you're going to see, it's going to reveal all your sequencing. It's going to reveal your swing path. And you're going to hit it, and you're going to probably hit it a lot farther than that. And then you start extending that out a little bit further and a little bit further. But you don't want it to go too far. For example, I can hit a drive 230 yards. By the way, I turned 70 in less than a month, so I'm pretty happy with that. But that doesn't mean I carried it 230. Probably more likely, I carried it 190 or 200. Now, what I'm going to look for is a spot about 180 yards out in the fairway. That's my target. That's what I'm going to try to hit my driver to and make my 80% swing. And then I'll be very happy if it carries 10, 20, wow, wouldn't that be great, 30 yards past that spot. And then I'm going to feel like I hit a great drive. So take about 10% off what you think is your carry yardage, which probably is farther than you really do carry it. But take 10% off of that and make that, maybe even 15%, and make that your target. And say, if I swing at 80%, I'm going to easily carry that. And that will let you free it up. And you won't try to hit the cover off of it. You won't try to pound it. That's the ticket. Okay, now, we've got a little further on that. How to stop slicing off the tee. That's a good question, and in fact, is one of the most common. I was talking to my friend Jaime Diaz, a writer for a lot of golf articles, and he was writing for Golf Digest at the time. And I said, Jaime, why is it that I look at an issue of Golf Digest and it says, it's always got a headline in there, how to cure your slice. And the next issue is, how to cure your slice really. And the third issue in a row, how to cure your slice, this time we really mean it. Every time it's how to cure your slice. Well, I can't see your swing, so I don't know exactly what you're doing that creates the slice, but let's look at the physics. Clearly, the club face is moving across from outside to inside on that swing path. Now, that doesn't mean the club's moving on that swing path, but that's the club head, that it's hitting on that glancing blow. So either the club face is angled to the swing path, or the swing path is angled to the club face is facing the target and the swing path is angled, or the swing path is to the target and the club face is angled. It's some combination of those two. So all those static fundamentals and basic fundamentals of swing path are what you need to check on that. But that's what's happening when you're slicing the ball. It's cutting across that way. So you let the ball be your teacher. Now, one solution for that is to feel like as the club goes back and gets to about waist high, that the toe is pointing up in the air, straight up. In other words, the club face is vertical, perpendicular to the ground. And that when the club face goes through and gets to waist high, that again, the toe is pointing up, the club face is vertical. That gives you the chance to not be holding on. You see, the mental part of slicing the ball is this illusion that the club face needs to be completely square to the target all the way through. But it doesn't. It's something that rotates, that moves in a circle. And so when we're guiding it and trying to help it go straight, that's actually likely to produce a slice. It brings up the topic of what interferes with making a free release of the golf swing. What interferes is fear of letting go, which comes from fear of a bad outcome. And if we have fear of a bad outcome, then we will do one of three things to prevent that outcome. One, we will try to help it where we do want it to go. If we're afraid of it going somewhere else, we might help it where we do want it to go. So if you want it to go straight and you're afraid of it going sideways, you may try to hold the face square all the way through. which is pretty guaranteed to produce a slice. In fact, they call it, to hit a cut shot in the pros, they call it holding it off, holding it off. So holding that face square produces that slice.
There's the fourth thing you can do, Dr. Perrin, and that is not play. And that's kind of what I've been this year. I've practiced a lot. I had knee replacement surgery in March, and I've recovered nicely and all that. But I've only played a couple times because I'm getting nervous on the course. I'm going to go out and play 9 holes today with a group, and I know that first tee especially, the heart's going to be pumping, and I breathe and I try to do all those things, but it's still there, that nervousness of that first tee, and as Robin Williams would say, they put trees and bushes out there in the way, you know. And
I love Robin Williams, Scotsman on inventing golf. That's pretty good. Okay, so that fourth thing of not playing. Well, you've taken that out of the picture today,
right?
Because you're going to go play. So now let's look at the 3 things. If you're going to go play, the 3 things that get in the way. One is trying to help it come out well. The other is trying to prevent it from coming out badly. And that's what I was talking about, holding it off, of preventing it from going out badly. And the third is holding back and kind of quitting on it at the ball. And that holding back has to do with that fourth option that you talked about. Because what you're experiencing is part of you is saying, go ahead and swing. And the other part of you is saying, whatever you do, don't swing.
Yeah.
And if you all want to experience what that, tune into what that feels like, take a pen or a pencil, something like that, and just hold it over the desk or hold it over your other hand, you know, and then there are 2 things to do with it. The first one is drop it, let it go. See how well I did that? So drop it. There we go. Done. So go ahead and try that. But hold it and drop it. Good. I didn't catch it, but I dropped it. Okay. Next is hold it. Don't drop it. Good. Good job. Don't drop it. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to give you a third test. Hold it up there. And when I say go, don't do this yet. I want you to both drop it and don't drop it at the same time. Go. Oh, you didn't drop it. That's wrong.
I don't know how to drop and not drop.
You don't know how to drop and not drop at the same time. How does that feel? How did that feel when you didn't know what to do?
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, no, that's a word. How did it feel? It felt stuck, right?
Yeah, just stuck, yeah.
Does that anything like what you feel on the tee when it's time to swing, but you don't really want to swing?
Yeah, there's just a little bit of that, you know, just feeling.
That is it. Swing, don't swing. So you need to make up your mind. Am I going to swing or not? Okay, now, so that's the holding back. That's then you just don't let yourself really let it go. Okay, so to start with, Bob, do you have a favorite club off the tee? If you could hit any club you want, what's the favorite one you'd hit off the tee?
I'd probably hit like my 8-iron.
Great. Okay. So on the first tee, on that par 4 or par 5, I don't care if it's par 5, just say, you know what? I'm just getting to explain to whoever else is there. I'm just getting back from knee surgery. Is it knee replacement?
Yeah.
Okay. And my coach said, and I'm going to tell you this, so it's true, the most important thing is to not hurt yourself. I was talking with Jimmy Johnson, who is Justin Thomas's caddy, who was Steve Stricker's caddy before that, and was Nick Price's caddy before that. I've known Jimmy for over 20 years. And when he was caddying for Stricker, he had an injury, and he wasn't playing well. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, he came back from the injury a little too soon." And he said, "Doc, I've never heard a pro complain that that their game is suffering because they came back from an injury too late, because they waited too long to come back from the injury." So you can tell whoever's there, say, "Hey, I promise I won't hold you up, but my prime directive," I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan, the prime directive is do not hurt myself.
Yeah, do no harm.
If I'm waiting for anything more than an 8-iron off the first tee, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself.
That's a good idea. I've actually, and the first tee is, this first hole is downhill, and three 8-irons will easily get me there.
There you go.
Why not just hit 3 8-irons and just have a putt for par, and instead of hitting the woods and out of the woods and getting into those threes and pushes and the stroke, because.
Yes, and what's your handicap, Bob?
I'm a 14.
14 is the first. What's the handicap on the first hole?
Oh, it's one of the tougher ones. It's probably in the top, 4 or 5 holes.
Well, then par is 5 for you on that hole.
It is actually.
Yes, it is actually. It is actually 5 for you on that hole.
Yeah,
so
in terms of handicap.
Play for par using your 8-iron. Now,
I like that idea because I know I can hit that in the fairway.
Okay, and if you feel pretty good about that, after 1 or 2 holes, then take a 7-iron and work your way up a little bit.
That is not a bad idea. I've only played 2 rounds this year, and so it's. But anyway, thank you.
That's another really good idea. So
thank you for walking me through that.
You are very, very welcome. Okay, so we're back to slicing off the tee, and that really comes from being afraid of where it's going to go and holding it off is one reason. Now, it may also be basically your swing technique, that you're coming across it from outside in. And that if you do release the club, you're going to hit a really, really nasty pull. So there are things to work on in that regard. It's not all mental. You can't just, I'm going to just imagine a draw and then I'm going to hit it. If you have that kind of swing that comes over the top, outside in, holding the face open, you got some work to do. But one thing that you can try to change that gradually is every golf ball that they make now has a little line on it. And some people draw a further line, but if you're on the range, almost every range ball has a stripe on it. Put that stripe straight in the back of the ball, back, absolutely middle of the ball. And then as you swing, try to have the club face impact the ball just inside that line. In other words, just in that inside quadrant of the ball. You can't hit it there if you're coming from outside in. It's impossible. So that can start to help you change your swing path that way. Most likely your first shot, if you are able to do that, will go way, way, way out to the right. So make sure there isn't anybody open here. But let yourself adapt to that. That's one technique that you can do. Okay, let's see what else we have. And that toe up to toe up, I have done that with somebody who had a slice and had the mistaken idea that you have to keep the club face square all the way through the ball as long as you can. And it changed. It changed almost immediately for him. But again, he had a reasonably good swing path, and it was just that holding the face open. So it can be a combination of those technical things. Let's see. Then one thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm doing a little reworking of of the Zen Golf book. We got the 20th anniversary coming up, and I'm doing a little reworking, not of the hardcover, because that's a printing issue, but of the ebook. And that is one chapter, the only chapter that someone really said that they got kind of confused about. And that was the chapter, Where is Your Target? And in the exercise in that chapter, you set up, get your alignment all set up to a target out on the range, and then close your eyes, lift your target sidearm up. If you're a right-handed golfer, it's your left arm, and point to where you think the target is. And then open your eyes and just gently turn your head to look and see where your finger is pointing. If it's off, then it's called proprioceptive. Your body sense and visual sense aren't matching up. And you can make an adjustment. Then look down again, change that, and look again until you match those up. You can also then say, I better check my alignment, because if I think that's where the target is, maybe my body alignment isn't what it should be. Now, the mistake people had was they thought that it meant lift your arm straight up on a line, the same line that's across your shoulders, and look at that. Well, if you look at that, ideally, for a right-hander, that should be slightly left of the target, because where the club face is pointing and the line across your shoulders is pointing are separated by a couple of feet. Now, if you were doing archery and the arrow was straight across, right across at your shoulders, well, then the arrow and your shoulders would be pointing at the same place. But your arrow is out here in front of you. So it's a parallel. And the rule of thumb is, if you've got a driver or a 3-wood, that it's the line across your shoulders should be pointing maybe up to 15 yards left of where the club face is pointing, of your target, where you want the ball to start. And if it's a mid-iron, maybe 10 yards, and for a wedge, maybe just 5 yards, like 15 feet. So, because the closer the ball is to you, then the narrower that gap between the target and the target line and your shoulder line. So a lot of people that I work with like to have two targets. They look out there and set the club face and maybe an intermediate target for the ball, and set the club face pointing out there, and then they get themselves set up and then look to see where their shoulders are pointing out there, and set their body up, their feet, their hips, and their shoulders 5, 10, or 15 yards left of that target, depending on what club they're hitting. And that's what we're putting in, just a couple of new paragraphs that way to clarify that in the new edition. Okay, so Ken, do we have any other questions that came in? You see anything in the chat box?
Nope.
Okay. If you have a question and you've been muted, just put it in the chat box and I'll unmute you. And I am going to ask Hope to unmute if she's still there. And look forward to seeing her. Hope, you can see her name on the screen if you have the gallery view. Is going to come out. Hi, Hope, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I apologize. This is not a touch screen, and I kept on hitting the screen.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Just do be aware that the weather's going to be pretty hot.
Yeah, I looked at the calendar. I saw that.
Yeah. We're out here in Ojai. Sunday is supposed to get to, is it 114, Ken?
Hopefully.
Wow.
Ken likes hot weather. Yeah.
114. Holy
Yeah, hopefully it'll cool down by Thursday or Friday. But I am going to make a reservation at a golf course down by the ocean just in case.
Good idea. Thank you.
Okay. Rocco is back. Did I talk about slicing? Yes. So we're almost done. It was pretty extensive. So what I would suggest is listening to the recording that Ken's going to put up in the next couple of days on YouTube. But Rocco, for you, I'll just repeat the two main things. One was the mistaken idea that the club face has to stay square to the target all the way through the swing. It doesn't. You want to feel like you go toe up of the driver going back to toe up going through. When your club on the through swing is waist high, that toe should be up and the club face pretty much vertical to perpendicular to the ground and perpendicular to the ground. And the other is work on your swing path being a little more in to out by setting the line on the ball straight in the middle of the back and trying to hit just inside that on the inside quadrant. And I think that was kind of the main thing, that it's a combination of swing path and club face that's going to produce that curving action. You need to talk to somebody who can see your swing to get an idea of what it is that's going on and what you can do to remedy it. But definitely trying to guide it and help it is very likely to produce a slice. Okay. Another question. What do you think of step down tees? Well, you're going to have to say something because I don't know what I'm going to unmute you. What are step down tees?
Those are the tees that only allow the tee to go so far into the ground.
We have that just from our ground. It's so hard. It's just so far to go into the ground. They only go so far into the ground. Well, as long as you get the size tees that that are appropriate for you, yeah, that's fine. Whatever little devices you have, that's great. You know, John Daly. Just make sure that it doesn't stop it and it's too high for you, or that it goes down and it's too low for you. And the lower the tee, the more likely it is to hit a slice. By the way.
Ah, okay.
But John Daly was asked if there was a particular way that he teed the ball up to get extra distance. And he said, yeah, I try to tilt the tee as far as I can towards the target before the ball will fall off. And somebody said, how much extra distance does that get you? And he said, about 1/4 of an inch. So,
and he used to hit it a long way.
That's right. Some people use those brush tees where the ball sits on a brush, and I mean, there's all sorts of different tees. They make small. Well, there's ones that are like 3 points, and the theory is the less contact, the less friction. But again, might get you that whole 1/4 of an inch.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Bob, you looked surprised when I said the lower you tee it, the more likely you are to slice it.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I can slice it. I'm not really a slicer, but I can slice it. You know, even when sometimes I think that the tee's up too high, but usually when I slice it, it's because I haven't finished. I mean, that's because I've got a good swing, but and that's the fear. The fear sometimes I got trees lining both sides, and it's like I don't want to hook it, and so I'm not going to finish, and then I'm going to hit it to the right.
And that is exactly the preventing swing, the preventing feeling that interferes with
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
If
And it's a first world problem. I mean, we're out here on a golf course. These are beautiful places, you know, and it's you know, here I am. It's like, aren't I thankful? I'm breathing. You know, I have a human body which has taken billions of years to create, and I've got these golf clubs. I mean, I can complain about them with Robin Williams's help, but you know, seriously, this is a pretty cool thing that I'm at. I love the Zen of golf. I mean, not just your Zen golf, but just the it's almost like you're in a Zen garden, right? I mean, when you're on a nice golf course. And so it's like, and then why am I in fear? What am I afraid of? And I've been battling that for 40 years. I mean, this has been my challenge, and you know, so I'm going to do better today. The tip you gave 2 weeks ago, I think, or maybe 4 weeks, with breathing on putting, taking a breath, letting go, and then stroking it, that has helped me already. So just thank you for that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What are you afraid of? You're afraid of hitting it where you don't want to.
Yeah, a bad result.
A bad result. And you have to look and say, now I had one guy and I said, you know, what are you afraid of? He said, these Titleists cost me $6 each. And that's what he was afraid of. And, no, I'm serious. That's what he was afraid of.
I get you. I am, yeah, when I get on a water hole, I always pick out a used ball or something. I do.
I gave him a special instruction that I also gave to my friend Anthony Anderson, the actor. And the instruction was, before you hit, you have to address the ball. And you have to say this to the ball and mean it. I don't care if I never see you again. I am going to make a free swing. And you have, and say goodbye in advance, and say, if you're gone, you're gone. But I am tired of holding back.
Yeah, that's
and so that's something that you can use, Bob, and just say goodbye to the ball, and not worry about that. If it's embarrassment that a golfer as good as I am shouldn't hit it in the woods,
right.
Just watch the pros. I mean, they hit it in the woods. It happens. So I had one pro that I worked with. We spent 2 days all day long. And I said, well, you know, name 1 or 2 things that you think you were most important in. And he said, well, the one thing that was most important was when you told me, don't worry, it's going to come down somewhere.
Yeah, and almost every time. Not many balls get lost in trees. Occasionally, but not often.
Well, Doc,
it came down in the tree. It's going to come down somewhere, and you're going to keep playing. John.
So yeah, it's brilliant to see you and be part of the show and like listen to you. As you know, we've known each other for over a year now. And happy birthday for last month, by the way. Sorry, I missed that one.
Next month.
Next month. Oh, it's coming.
In advance.
It's coming. It's coming.
John is an associate Zen golf coach that I've been working with for a couple of years now, over in the UK.
And I've got actually Mark on the line who I've invited as well. So we've been talking about your stuff and getting some things done. Talking about how we respond to situations is one of the
rather than react.
Yeah.
Good.
Which is
well, gang.
I like your brilliant.
Thank you, John and Mark, for coming over from across the pond, and look forward to seeing you. And great to be with everybody else. We will be doing this not next week, but the week after. And thank you.